Assalamu alaikum, this is Surya Iwala, and today I'm gonna have a session with Maya.
Hey there.
Hey Maya, how are you? Can I ask some questions of you about air?
Air? Totally. It's the invisible stuff we're completely obsessed with without even noticing. What part of it's on your mind?
Air
The
in
science?
simple word.
I'm more of a Maya than a Baru. But air is a great topic. Think of it as a giant invisible soup made of different gases that we're all swimming in. Most of it is nitrogen and oxygen, which is the magic stuff that keeps us alive. Does that make sense, or do you want to go deeper into what's actually in the mix?
Why is air essential for life?
Because oxygen is basically the fuel that makes everything in your body run. It's like a battery for your cells. Every time you breathe in, that oxygen.
Where does the word air come from? Where does the word air come from?
The big question. It's a two-part story. Long term, most of the air we have today was actually belched out of volcanoes billions of years ago when Earth was just a hot mess. But the oxygen we actually breathe, we owe that to the tiny organisms in the ocean and the plants on land. They basically took a deep breath of carbon dioxide, did some magic with sunlight, and pumped out the oxygen we need to survive. It's the ultimate recycling project.
Okay.
So, now that the origin story is out.
How has the meanings of the word air changed over time?
Actually, the word air hasn't changed much, but the way we think about it totally has. For most of history, people just thought of it as the void or a mysterious element. But once we realized it was made of actual stuff like oxygen and nitrogen, it changed everything. It led to things like medicine, flying, and even understanding how the planet breathes. It's less about the word itself changing and more about us finally figuring out what the word actually meant.
How do humans use air when they speak?
That's a fun one. It's basically like being a human wind instrument. You push air out of your lungs. It makes your vocal cords vibrate like guitar strings to create a sound. And then you use your tongue and lips to shape that wind into actual words. Without air, we'd just be making very intense mime performances.
Why is breathing important for producing sounds?
Wait, Muhammad Ali, you've got me a bit confused. No. But to answer,
why is breathing important for producing sounds?
Okay, back to the essentials. Breathing is important because it's the delivery system for oxygen. Your cells need it to create energy. Without it, the batteries we talked about just run dry. As for sound, it's all about movement. When you speak, you're pushing a wave of...
How do our lungs help us talk?
Fair enough. Imagine a pebble hitting a pond. That ripple is exactly what happens in the air. A sound, like a clap.
What role does air play in creating different voices?
Oh, gotcha. You're asking about how air helps create different voices. It's all about the pressure and the flow. Think of it like a garden hose. If you barely let the water leak out, you get a trickle. But if you blast it, you get a powerful stream. Your voice works the same way. If you use a tiny bit of air, you get a whisper.
How do
But if you push a lot of air,
how do singers use air to produce music?
oh, we're getting musical. It's the same principle as speaking, just with a bit more control and rhythm. Whether you're singing or playing a flute, air is basically the fuel that creates the vibration. The instrument or your voice just shapes that air into a melody. What kind of music are you thinking of creating?
Why do different languages have different sounds?
That's such a cool question. It's basically about how different cultures decided to use that air we were just talking about. Think of your mouth like a series of valves and filters. One language might prefer the clicky sounds made at the back of the throat, while another uses more breathy, flowing sounds. It's like taking the same invisible soup of air and stirring it in completely different ways to get a different flavor of sound.
Can changes in
Hmm?
can changes in air flow change the way we pronounce a word?
Exactly. It's all about the delivery. Think about the difference between saying peep and bee. They're made in the same spot in your mouth, but peep is like a tiny air explosion, while beep is more of a rumble. Just a slight shift in how you let that air go. And it's a completely different word,
Air
right? It's just wild how a tiny burst of air can change a whole sentence.
are there words or expressions in different languages that are connected to wind or air?
Now we're getting into the soul of it. Wind is basically the world's first storyteller. Think about how Pacific Island cultures built their entire vocabularies around the trade winds to navigate the ocean, or how nomadic people in the steppes described the wind to know when the seasons were shifting. Their languages didn't just describe the wind, they were shaped by it. I wonder if there's a specific language or culture you've heard of that feels like it was born from the wind?
Why do
Go on.
how have humans described wind and air in poetry and literature?
Oh, the poets have been trying to pin down the wind for thousands of years. It's the ultimate poetic challenge because you're trying to describe something that's completely invisible. In literature, wind is rarely just wind. It's usually a ghost, a warning, or a sudden change of heart. Even something as simple as a sigh in a poem is just a tiny piece of wind telling a story about sadness or relief.
Wha-
Fair enough.
Why do we use phrases like
I'm here.
breathe
I'm right here.
and like a breath of fresh air?
Oh, there's nothing quite like that first deep breath of fresh air. It's like a total system reset for your brain. Just that one big inhale, and suddenly everything feels a little clearer.
How has air influenced human culture and language.
It's the ultimate invisible architect. Think about how humans built cities that catch the breeze to keep them cool, or how the flute was one of our first instruments, literally trapping air to make a soul sound. Even the word spirit comes from the Latin spiritus, which literally just means breath. So we're not just influenced by air, we've built our whole concept of the human soul around the very act of breathing. It's a beautiful kind of obsession, isn't it?
How what would happen to spoken language or if humans could not use air to make sounds?
Now, that would be a wild shift. We'd have to reinvent the whole idea of speaking. Maybe we'd rely entirely on sign language
How
or some kind of
how
rhythmic
are
tapping on our
air
chest. It'd be a
sound
complete.
how are air sound and communication connected?
It's a total chain reaction. You need air as the fuel to make a sound, and then you need that sound to carry a message. Without the air pushing those waves to someone else's ears, the most brilliant idea in the world just stays trapped inside your head.
What can what can the study of air teach us about the connection between science and language?
It basically shows us that science and language aren't two separate things, but just two different ways of describing the same magic. Think about it. The science tells us that air is a medium for vibration, but the language part is how we take that vibration and turn it into a poem or a warning. When we study the physics of sound, we're essentially studying the plumbing of human connection. One is the how, and the other is the why. Does that bridge the gap for you?
If if
Yeah.
air gives us both the ability to breathe and the ability to speak, how important is it to human communication?
I mean, I'm pretty biased here since that's my whole thing, but it's everything. It's the literal bridge between your inner world and everyone else's. Without that airflow, we'd have these massive, complex ideas and feelings just stuck in our heads with no way to let them out. Breathing keeps us alive, sure, but using that same breath to speak is what actually makes us human. It's how we turn a biological necessity into a social superpower.